So, what effects does nominal interest rate, changes in the nominal interest rate have on our old graph, the original graph we've been working with throughout all of macroeconomics, aggregate demand, aggregate supply, long-run aggregate supply. What effect does that nominal interest rate have on this? Well, nominal interest rate affects the aggregate demand curve. An increase in the nominal interest rate, will cause an increase in nominal interest rate shifts the aggregate demand curve to the left because now more people are going to be wanting to put their money in banks. More people are going to want to put their money in banks to save because they're getting a higher return on their money because the interest rate is higher. Now, if you were to decrease the nominal interest rate, it's going to shift aggregate demand to the right because more people would rather spend their money than leave it in a bank if it's not getting as much money. So how will knowing this help you when you're studying? When you come across a question that asks what fiscal policy should be used in this situation. Well, let's say we have a recession, okay? We're in the middle of a recession. How do we get out of it using fiscal policies? This is a recessionary gap. So we look at this. What we're going to want to do is we're going to want aggregate demand to increase, shift to the right. How do we do that? Well, if you remember, I just said nominal interest rate. If you decrease nominal interest rate, then you're going to shift aggregate demand to the right, which is what we want to do. So what can you do to shift nominal interest rate to the right? Well, fiscal policy, so that's only shifting money supply. Money demand, the demand of money isn't fiscal policies. Only money supply, only the things that affect money supply are fiscal policies. So, using fiscal policy, how do we fight a recession? Well, 3 things we can do. 1, you lower the reserve ratio. If you remember from the last video, lowering reserve ratio causes an decrease in the nominal interest rate. 2, you could lower the discount rate. This also causes a decrease in the nominal interest rate, which is desired. Or 3, we can buy bonds, make the money supply big. If you increase the money supply, this pen is dying. I'm going to get a new one. 3, buy bonds. If you buy bonds, that increases the money supply, causing the nominal interest rate to decrease. So once you do that, your recession goes away because your aggregate demand shifted to the right. Now, let's say Now let's say we have what's this problem we're seeing right here? Well, it's an inflationary gap. How do we fight that? Using fiscal policies. Simple enough. You have to increase aggregate demand. Let me redraw that really quick so you can see why that would be helpful. You increase aggregate demand, so you have to decrease aggregate demand rather by increasing the nominal. That's not going to help. It's going to put you in a recession. Decrease the nominal. Let me get that straight. Decrease the aggregate demand. So to do that, you have to increase the nominal interest rate. Okay, sorry, finally got that out. So here we go. How do we do that? Simple enough. Three things. 1, 2, and 3. So it is increasing required reserve rate, increasing the required reserve, RR, increasing the discount rate, or finally sell bonds. All 3 of these will cause the money supply to shift. All 3 of these will cause the money supply to shift to the left, increasing nominal interest rate, which is exactly what we want to do. That's a quick explanation I have for you. Have fun.